When it comes to freedom, it's the I, the individuality, that makes it so precious. Many of us were raised within a lifestyle that stifles the self, that allows no room for individuality. Freedom of personal choice is the number one reason why so many of us go through this transformation, a difficult transformation, in order to be able to live a life that is aligned with our beliefs. This doesn't happen overnight. It's a journey. We constantly evolve. The same is also true for an organization. I don't have to tell you about OTD Meetup, what it is that we do, because we're all living it. Instead, I'll briefly share the OTD Meetup's evolution. When I founded OTD Meetup in 2012, my idea was for it to have 2 events every month, one in New York City, one in Rockland, to provide a place where we can get together, socialize, so those of us who are going through a difficult journey, those of us who have already gone through, that we can stick together so that we don't have to do this alone. 6 years later, and an amazing partner later, OTD Meetup has grown to over 1,000 members, hosting more than 160 social events per year across 12 cities through North America. I think we did a pretty good job of accomplishing our initial goal of at least 2 events per month. Our big reveal is bittersweet. It's good news and there's bad news. We put in so much hard work to make OTD Meetup what it is today, but I'm here to tell you that we're giving up OTD Meetup.
No.
We'll no longer be hosting OTD Meetup events. The good news though, in looking at this chart, you guys can see the chart.
Yeah.
And looking at that chart and going over the numbers of events, the members' attendance in the last few years, we realized how much we have grown and evolved from where we first were when we began. It also made it obvious that going forward, we need a new look, one that is more representative of what the organization is today and what's in store for us going forward. So no, we're not abandoning the ship. So what's the big reveal, you may wonder. But a better question would be, why the big reveal? Why did we name it that? Well, we named it so because we have several things to reveal. So we figured the big reveal would be an all-encompassing name. For starters, as part of our new look, we're unveiling a new logo. Oh, and a new name too.
All right.
We chose a new name and logo, one that's more aligned with our mission, our members' identity, and one that takes us to the next level. Oh, oops. Here you go. We wanted our logo to convey the vibe and the energy of our events. Firstly, social, a fun, happy experience. They look pretty happy to me. A place to meet new acquaintances, make friendships, network. Basically, a feel of community without the strings attached. Furthermore, we wanted it to represent diversity, individuality. We may have similar backgrounds, but we're not all the same. We're all individuals with our own unique experiences. So as you see, if you look at them, the 3 humans are different, but they're together. Also, we wanted it to express acceptance, feeling welcome. This space was intentionally left blank because there's always room for more people, for more members. if you look at the logo, you'll see that it's separate. The head is separate from the body. That was done intentionally because we want to acknowledge that being Fry is two parts. There are two parts to it. One is the brain, and one is the body. And we wanted to acknowledge that unfortunately, way too many of us are still stuck in a community where their brain is already Fry, but physically, they're still stuck, and we wanted to acknowledge that. So if you look, this is the brain, and this is the body. Lastly, we wanted to have our own Trinity, or as the saying goes, 3 is a crowd. And with us, it only takes one member to complete the Trinity, because there's always Mary, myself, Jean, and you, and $1, of course. Speaking of dollars, if we had $1 for each time we get asked or told, why do you call yourself off the derech? I'm not off the derech. Well, that's not the reason why we're changing the name, but it's an added bonus, I suppose. Our updated name isn't just for the sake of a name change. As I mentioned before, it is to be more reflective of our mission, our members' identity, and symbolic as to where we're going as an organization. So, our new name is Freidom. For those of us Yiddish speakers, it's self-explanatory. But I'd like to point out a few things that we like about it. Firstly, Freidom being a Yiddish play on freedom. In Yiddish, the word frei means free. To be frei is to be free. All of us here value personal freedom. Or I should say personal freedom. Freedom to choose how we get to live our lives. Also, while we don't have an issue with the word OTD, we prefer the term Fry. OTD is a descriptor by others based on something we no longer are, whereas Fry describes something that we are now, free from the yoke of religion. Lastly, the I in Freidom is meant to be a person figure. You may not recognize it because it's in profile. But we wanted the I to represent individuality. We also added a new tagline, which is New Experiences Together, which encompasses our mission of providing a platform of socializing, rebuilding our social networks, and exposure to cultural experience that we may have been deprived of due to our upbringing. Part 2. In addition to our new look, Freidom is announcing Friday, an official day dedicated to us celebrating being free and our freedom to live a self-determined life. As I talk about being free and celebrating personal freedom, it's appropriate to mention Baruch Spinoza, or as we say in Yiddish, Baruch Spinoza, a 17th century Dutch philosopher. As you may be aware, Spinoza was raised as an Orthodox Jew in Amsterdam. He was one of the greatest thinkers of the Enlightenment movement and naturally developed controversial ideas about the authenticity of the Torah and its divinity. The Amsterdam Jewish religious Vaad threatened Spinoza to retract his heretical views or be excommunicated, as we know it, be placed in Cherem. Despite the consequences of being shunned by a religious community, Spinoza stayed true to himself and his beliefs, and as a result, on July 27, 1656, at the age of 23, Spinoza was placed in Freidom. Spinoza was arguably the first European Jew to leave Orthodoxy and become Frei. Back in the day, when someone left Judaism, it was to convert to another religion. Spinoza may have been the first Orthodox Jew to become Frei, to become a secular Jew. For many of us, our Frei experience very much connects with that of Spinoza's, who, despite being ostracized by his community, he chose individuality. Individual thinking over that of his upbringing. Spinoza being placed in Freidom, being excommunicated by his community, is essentially what set him free. Free from the yoke of orthodoxy. Based on all of this, it is very appropriate for Friday to be linked to the date when Spinoza achieved this personal freedom. So going forward, we designate the last Friday of July as Friday. A day of celebrating our freedom of personal choice, freedom of thought, and to be consistent, we designated Friday to always be on a Friday. But it so happens that the year Spinoza was placed in Freidom, July 27, happened to be on a Friday. Well, technically it was a Thursday. But it's safe to assume that it was after the Shkia. Because what kind of Jew goes around chayraming people before Marav? So now that we have an official day of celebration, let's not make the mistake of turning it into a religious day with mandatory rituals and minhagim. There's no wrong way of celebrating Friday. We all get to celebrate it in a way that works for us. We're all Frei, and as the saying goes, not being religious is not a religion. There's no right or wrong way of not being religious. After all, not needing to follow a specific set of rules is the biggest beauty of being Frei. So let's not make that mistake. Having said that, we at Freidom will be celebrating Friday as the beginning of Freidom Festival, or as we like to call it, Freifest. A weekend of connecting with each other in nature. We'll host a weekend festival to celebrate freedom throughout the entire weekend, beginning on Friday, the last Friday in July. This year's first annual Freifest will be on July 26th through July 28th. Expected to be a festivus for the rest of us, but in July. We'll announce more details as we get closer, but for now, mark your calendars, save the weekend, share the news, spread the word about everything, about the new name, about Friday, about Freifest, and all that Freidom does as an organization. We all know what Freidom does, but we may not know that this all costs a lot of money. We can share with others that Freidom is a tax-exempt nonprofit organization in need of support, be it money, professional services, volunteer help, and that includes volunteering for Freifest. In closing, I want to add that we all make choices, and it's important that we all know that no one but ourselves can decide what lifestyle is right for us. I have a right, I as an individual, I have a right to choose how I live my life. Oh, sorry, this was Freifest, you'll see it later. But what I was trying to say is, I have a right to choose how I live my life. My choices matter, I matter, and remember, there is now an I in freedom. Whoa! Thank you.